Most people assume that those who enjoy being alone are lonely, but psychology suggests something very different. In reality, many people who prefer solitude are not running away from the world. They are carefully choosing how they engage with it. They are not disconnected. They are selective. And that difference matters. People who enjoy being alone often experience the world more intensely than others. Sounds, emotions, conversations, all of it reaches them with greater depth. Because of this, constant social interaction can feel overwhelming rather than energizing. Solitude becomes a way to regulate their inner world, not an escape, a balance. Psychologists often observe that these individuals spend a great deal of time thinking, not because they are anxious, but because reflection is where they feel most alive. While others process life externally, through conversation and activity, they process it internally. Quiet is not empty to them. It is full. One misunderstood trait of people who prefer being alone is emotional independence. They do not rely heavily on others to validate their thoughts or feelings. This does not mean they do not value connection. It means they do not fear its absence. They are comfortable sitting with their own thoughts, even the uncomfortable ones. Over time, this ability often leads to strong self-awareness. Solitude sharpens observation. People who spend time alone tend to notice details others miss, subtle changes in tone, unspoken tension, patterns in behavior. Because they are not constantly performing socially, they have the mental space to observe. And over time, observation turns into understanding. Interestingly, many people who prefer solitude are deeply empathetic. They feel emotions strongly, sometimes more strongly than they would like. Being alone allows them to recover from emotional overload. It gives their nervous system time to reset. This is why they may withdraw after social interaction, even when the interaction was positive. It is not rejection. It is recovery. Another common trait is a strong inner identity. People who enjoy being alone often know who they are, not because life has been easy, but because they have spent time with themselves. They have questioned their beliefs, challenged their assumptions, sat with uncertainty. Solitude forces honesty. Society often misunderstands this preference. A world that rewards constant visibility tends to view solitude as weakness, as antisocial, as something that needs to be fixed. But psychology does not support this assumption. In fact, many creative thinkers, researchers, and innovators share a deep comfort with being alone. Their ideas require space. Enjoying solitude does not mean avoiding people altogether. Healthy solitude is chosen. Unhealthy isolation is forced. The difference lies in freedom. People who prefer being alone still value meaningful connection. They simply prefer depth over frequency. One honest conversation can mean more than 100 casual ones. There is also a strong connection between solitude and creativity. When the mind is not reacting, it begins to explore. Thoughts connect, ideas form, insights emerge. This is why many people report their clearest thinking happens when they are alone. Of course, solitude is not always peaceful. Being alone removes distraction, which means unresolved thoughts rise to the surface. This is why not everyone enjoys it. Solitude reveals what noise usually hides. Those who grow comfortable with being alone often learn how to face themselves without flinching. Preferring solitude is not a flaw. It is a temperament, a different way of interacting with the world. And like all temperaments, it comes with strengths and limits. The key is balance, connection when needed, solitude when required. Perhaps the most overlooked truth is this. People who enjoy being alone are often the ones who understand others most deeply. Because before they tried to understand the world, they learned how to understand themselves. And that is not loneliness. That is awareness. There is also a misconception that people who prefer being alone lack social skills. In many cases, the opposite is true. They often understand social dynamics very well. They read between the lines. They sense shifts in mood before words are spoken. This awareness can make surface-level interaction feel draining, not because they cannot do it, but because they see more than most. Many people who value solitude are highly selective with their energy. They know that attention is limited, and once it is spent, it cannot be recovered easily. So they choose carefully where it goes. This can make them appear distant, when in reality, they are simply intentional. Another trait commonly observed is a strong internal compass. Rather than constantly seeking external guidance, they rely on personal values to make decisions. This doesn't mean they believe they are always right. It means they are comfortable sitting with uncertainty until clarity forms on its own. Solitude gives them the space to do this. People who enjoy being alone often have a different relationship with time. They are less rushed by it, less pressured to fill it. Moments of stillness do not feel wasted. They feel necessary. This is why boredom rarely troubles them. Their inner world provides enough stimulation. There is also a quiet resilience that develops in solitude. When you spend time alone, you learn how to regulate your emotions without distraction. You learn how to sit with discomfort instead of immediately escaping it. Over time, this builds emotional strength. Not loud strength, quiet strength. Of course, this path is not without challenges. Too much solitude can turn into avoidance. Reflection can turn into rumination. This is why balance matters. Healthy solitude brings clarity. Excessive isolation creates distortion. The difference is awareness. People who thrive in solitude often know when to return to others. They value connection that feels genuine, conversation that has meaning. They may not speak often, but when they do, it is usually intentional. Words are chosen carefully. Silence has taught them their weight. Interestingly, many people report that they became comfortable with solitude only after periods of emotional difficulty. Loss, disappointment, disillusionment. Solitude becomes a space for rebuilding, a place where identity can be reshaped without pressure or performance. This may explain why people who prefer being alone often possess a strong sense of authenticity. They are less influenced by trends, less shaped by expectation. They have spent time asking themselves difficult questions, and they are not afraid of the answers. It is important to say this clearly. Preferring solitude does not mean rejecting humanity. It means choosing how to participate in it. It means understanding that constant connection is not the same as meaningful connection, and that silence, in the right amounts, can be deeply nourishing. Perhaps this is why people who enjoy being alone are often drawn to ideas, creativity, and understanding. They are not searching for noise. They are searching for clarity. And clarity rarely arrives in crowds. So if you are someone who prefers being alone, there is nothing missing from you. You are not broken. You are not antisocial. You are simply oriented inward. And when balanced with connection, this orientation can become a strength. Because the ability to be alone without feeling empty is often a sign of a mind that has learned how to listen.